Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, anti-French sentiments in West Africa is rooted in the region's complex history with France. The legacy of colonialism and ongoing influence has fostered resentment. In recent years, anti-French sentiment has actually grown, fueled by nationalism and satisfaction. Now, there's a big question here that so many people have actually asked, and which is, will West Africa continue to distance itself from French influence? Now, when it comes to anti-French sentiments in the West African nations, people have actually said it's a complex issue, with deep roots when it comes to history, politics, and also culture. Now, to break it down, it talks of colonial legacy, where West Africa was colonized by France, leading to exploitation, forced labor, and culture suppression. And this legacy continues to influence the region's relationship with France. It also talks of neo-colonial ties, where after independence, France maintained significant influence in its former colonies, fostering resentment, and this relationship is often described as Francophilique. It also talks of military presence, where France has maintained a military presence in many West African countries, which some view as continuation of neo-colonial control. Some of these West African countries are Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and the likes. It talks of economic interest, where France is seen as exploiting West Africa's resources, particularly through multinational corporations. It also talks of growing nationalism, where recent years have seen a growing sense of nationalism and dissatisfaction with France's influence, leading to large-scale protests and also a shift in public opinion. And when it comes to external influences, the growing influence of countries like Russia and China in West Africa has actually fueled anti-French sentiment as well, with some local leaders seeking closer ties to these countries. So these factors and more have actually all contributed to a complex and multifaceted phenomenon with varying levels of anti-French sentiments across different countries and communities within West Africa. And now to speak more on this, we have our guest, Dr. David Matanga, Africa Affairs Analyst, to give us more insight on this. Thank you so much, Dr. Matanga, for joining us. Hello, Dr. Matanga, can you hear me?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Today is a very hectic day down where I am, and it looks like I am not able to be in the right mind because I'm in a new place in Netherlands.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. We hope that, with the few minutes we have left, we'll be able to get, something from you. Now, let's start with, we're talking about anti-French sentiment in West Africa. It seems deeply rooted in the colonial past. Now, how much of the current hostility can be directly traced back to France's colonial legacy, particularly the way France governed its African colonies?
First of all, thank you very much. It looks like the chicken have come home to roost. I have been one of the few people campaigning for the French to leave this continent completely. I have been in the struggle against the French monopoly of resources in West Africa, in Central Africa, in North Africa, creating wars. So I am very, very, very happy person today that the people in Africa are realizing, are seeing what I have been saying for a long time. All colonial masters left, but France decided not to leave. France decided not to give us peace. France decided to leave, to join us and milk us even more after getting independence. So I am one of the few people, very, very happy people, that today African states are realizing and the people are calling for France to go home. We can work as partners, but not as you being a colonialist. Yes.
All right, now, Dr. Matsanga, what about the concept of a Francafique? Can you explain how this system of political and economic control has actually contributed to modern-day resentment of former French colonies?
We collect all the salaries and the taxes and take all the taxes across to France. They have put us under agreements which have lasted over 60, 80 years. Now we can, the people in West Africa, in most of the states of West Africa, right from Senegal, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, all those states of the French-speaking countries, people are under the French bondage. And the worst part of it is the resources are collected from Africa, taken to France, then given back to us. And that is what has been paining most of the people. Look at what some of the countries that have, where there's been a military coup, you will find that they have done very well. They went on to sell their uranium, they got the money in cash, they are rebuilding their economies, they are giving their people medicine, schools, hospitals, roads are being reconstructed. I've been in Burkina Faso, I've been in Niger, I've been in Mali. I see a good development coming up in those states. But otherwise, the French had actually tied us on their policy of assimilation, assimilating the people, the African people. Look at the war in Central African Republic. Look at the war in Congo, DRC Congo. Look at the war in Libya. Look at the war in Sudan. Everywhere where they have gone, they have left a war. Okay. So I am very happy the resentments are coming now.
Okay, Dr. Matsanga, now Russia, especially, through the Wagner Group, and also China have expanded their influence in the region. So how does this shift, in alliance and alliances affect France's position in West Africa?
I think what we should avoid, what we should try to avoid is to change one colonial master for the other. But all of them are not from our countries. We should not change just for the mere change of guards. We should change with principle. I like the way the people in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the way they are doing their things. In Chad, I was in Chad early this year, and I told the leadership there, every place where you go in Chad, in Jamena, the French have taken over everything, including the restaurants. You can't have a seat. So what do we do from here? And yet, what they have done to us, we are not saying we hate everybody. No, but we are saying you should give us space after 67 years of independence. Give us freedom. Let the Africans have freedom to engage. Africans have the freedom to develop their nations. You cannot tell us what we should do and not to do after 67 years of independence.
Okay. Now, but many West African countries maintain French, as an official language, but there was a mention of resentment over cultural imposition. Can the continued dominance of French language, education, and media be a factor?
Yeah, it is a factor, yes. Most of the West African states speak French, but then it is more or less a negative factor because all of them struggle to learn English again. You have seen that problem. Everybody struggles to learn English. We have ended up, and this has gone as far as dividing African Union. The colonial masters who sat in 1884 in Berlin, they had this intention. English came with English, the French came with French, Portuguese came, Spanish came, Italians came. They had a common mode, divide and rule. If you look at our African Union, 3/4 of the years that African Union has existed, only French-speaking chairpersons have been part and parcel or at the helm. Most of us, the English-speaking people, countries, have not been holding any responsibility in the African Union. The domination, the trying to change languages, it is a factor. Indeed, French factor, English versus the Anglophone, Francophone versus Anglophone has become a factor, and it has become a factor that has disunited Africa. Africa cannot hold anymore together. When you go for elections, for example, next year, my sister, we are going to have Francophone countries coming with their candidate. Then we have an English-speaking country with their candidate. This type of thing is what has kept us. The French have continued to divide us and take over our African Union in order to take the resources. Now you can see every country in West Africa says enough is enough. You better go. Chad, enough is enough. You better go. We have a problem.
Okay.
The war in Sudan, the same. Yes.
Now, we've talked about, some countries in West Africa. Now, what about the rural and urban areas? Because there are reports that, public opinion in rural areas may differ from urban centers regarding this anti-French sentiment. How significant is this urban-rural divide when it comes to understanding the broader picture of the anti-French attitudes?
Of course, the urban areas are the people who have seen the pain. You and I, we see the pain faster in Lagos, in Kampala, in Nairobi, in Dar es Salaam. We see the pain faster than the rural areas. So we take lead. We have seen the danger of insubordination. We have seen the danger of assimilation. We have been assimilated. The French policy of assimilation is most dangerous policy. They want you to speak like them. They want you to eat like them. They want you to behave like them. No, time has come for people to say enough is enough. Of course, the rural areas are not very much conversant with what is happening in Paris. And I can see all countries, some of the countries, all these wars that you see in Africa, believe me or not, if you check, they affect the rural area. But so the rural area should just wait to see that the leadership, their leaders take a lead in telling people enough is enough, pack up your goods and go. Let's be partners, but let's not be slaves. We have been slaves for more than 400 to 500 years. Time has come for Africa to be partners. We have to be partners.
Okay.
We have to partner with these guys, but not for them to control us, even the type of food we should eat.
All right, Dr. Matanga. Now, just before we wrap up in 1 minute, now, in response to the rising hostility, France has actually coordinated efforts, in public diplomacy. Can you assess the effectiveness of these efforts?
They don't have public diplomacy. They have public intrigue. That is not public diplomacy. The French come to give us a war. Everywhere where the French in Africa, show me one country in Africa which was a French colony which does not have a war, which does not have scars of war. Right from Ivory Coast, right from Guinea, right from Mali, Burkina Faso, all these places, apart from Senegal, that has been very stable. Show me, Central African Republic, they are still there. They are carrying minerals every day. Democratic Republic of Congo, a war. Show me, in Mozambique, they are the ones who have caused the war in Mozambique. I look at Libya, my sister, look at Libya. They came, bombed, killed Muammar Gaddafi. What? Now look at what Libya is. Libya is a proper state on African countries, or in African continent. That's why I've gone to the ICC to look for Mr. Sarkozy. I want to bring him to trial to tell us how he was able to spearhead personally the bombardment of Libya and the stealing of Libyan money. So for us in Africa, we have had enough.
Okay.
Where they have come, they have given us a war. The British are not giving us wars. The French give us wars. We are now tired. People in Africa are tired, my sister.
All right.
Let them go. Let's be partners, but not slaves.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Matanga, for speaking on this and also for your time.
I am sorry today the network right from where I am is very bad. I'm ashamed about this. Thank you very much.
It's not your fault. Thank you so much for your time. We're still grateful for the little time we had with you. All right, with that, we've come to the end of the conversation. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I remain Darshan Osman. Have a wonderful evening.